abortion side literally uses you, your case, your story, as a reason for why we need abortion on demand in America. You were conceived in rape. You were going to be adopted and raised by a family. What would happen to you? Your parents were white. You're half black. And so because of the traumas that they say people like you endure, you should have never have existed.
You know, it's such, especially post-Roe, it is such a, it's like the typical narrative now that somehow, whoa, trauma, trauma, trauma. First of all, let's talk about trauma for just a moment. Trauma, and I can speak from, personal experience in our family. I had siblings who come from really traumatic backgrounds. But see, trauma should be a reference point, not a resting place. And that's often what happens when they talk about this trauma. And Simone Biles, from, I think, was it 2 years ago, the world's most decorated gymnast, who went on Instagram and talked about how she's pro-choice and that a child shouldn't have to experience the trauma of foster care and that kind of separation. She was in foster care. She was rescued. She was adopted and loved. She is actually the tangible example of what we call the Radiance Foundation, the beauty of possibility. She was loved and rescued, yet she has a pro-abortion mentality, which is so sad and so tragic because it reinforces this pro-abortion lie that somehow you're better off dead. I was adopted out of the foster care system, and most of my siblings were. We weren't better off dead. We were better off loved.
Yes. I was actually direct messaging with Simone around the time of her comments because when she came out saying she was pro-choice, and she's this amazing and beautiful example of the power of choosing life. And she comes out basically saying that there should be a choice, legal and supported, to kill girls like her before birth. And so I was commenting on this on Instagram, I think, and ended up DMing with her a little bit. And she actually seemed like she was open to talking, and she said she'd be happy to chat. And then after a few back and forth, she said she was going to do a call, we're going to do a call. Ghosted, gone. And I think it's because she's, I'm going to guess, surrounded by a lot of people who are very pro-abortion. And so they're influencing her and saying, listen, don't talk to the pro-lifers, don't even go there. You have to be pro-choice. And there's this groupthink today.
Right.
When it comes to kids conceived in violence, kids with disability, kids in foster care, that death is better than life for them. But they don't think about it as death. They think about it in terms of just non-existence is better.
Right.
I think at the heart of it, it's this lack of appreciation for the possibility of life.
Right.
It's a hopelessness.
It is, and it's not compassionate to say, oh, well, this child shouldn't exist because they might face, poverty. Well, greatness has arisen out of poverty. I mean, look at Dr. Carson. He had a single mom who worked multiple jobs, and he and his brother, achieved a whole lot. Why? Because they had a driven woman, a driven mom. And we have a culture that just says, hey, women give up, which is weird. Because on one hand, women are everything. Women are strong. Women, what was the hashtag several years ago? The future is female. But yet somehow when it comes to the unplanned, somehow when it comes to things that are difficult, they're not strong enough. And I think the difference is, especially in our movement, is we're always speaking that hope. We're always speaking that resilience into people. We believe that we're stronger than our circumstances. For me, Philippians 4:13, it doesn't say I can do some things through Christ who strengthens me. No, it says I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And so when people have this narrative, and I hear this sometimes even in churches, well, it would be better off for someone not to suffer. We cannot eliminate suffering. As Christians, we work to eliminate it. We work to reduce it. But as long as humankind exists, suffering will always exist. But what's the compassionate, loving thing to do is to be that resource of help, be that resource of hope. Not to violently eliminate someone because you decided that their value is less.
Eliminate the suffering, not the sufferer.
Right. Exactly.
To kill the person who's hurting is not compassionate. It never is. It never will be.